drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Felsted in the morning continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Burns.
The ground is soft. It's
heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
And a very warm welcome to the Bosters Inquiry Sunday Sermon, where we go through the big action on Saturday, the Northumberland play, everything to discuss Irish Derby. We'll go through it all. And joining me to discuss all these and more very hot topics in the show and your questions are John Lang and Lorne Malvo. Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
Evening, everyone.
Yes, we're fired up for this one. There's going to be no messing about with this. And Chris, tell me about your day today. I've got a feeling you've had a bit of a weird day.
Well, yes, I'm not a prolific user of Twitter. I tend to just sort of follow kind of obviously horse racing topics, a bit of boxing, bit of food, and tend to take the piss out of, these sorts of green-haired American lunatics that identify as sort of goblin teammates or fucking Morphy Richards kettle. So if I get 3 likes for one of my tweets, I sort of cream myself. But yesterday, obviously Paul McCartney headlined Glastonbury, and a comedian, wow, doesn't he look amazing for 80? He's a vegetarian. Imagine if John Lennon had been a vegetarian, he'd still be alive today. Right, so straight away, a million people replied saying, "Oh, don't you know he was shot by Mark Chapman? How thick are you?" Blah 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 blah. This went on for ages, and this chap then came on and said, "How stupid are people? This goes some way to explaining how Brexit got through with all these dumb comments." So I put just a throwaway comment for no reason, saying John Lennon died way before Brexit. Do your research before tweeting, right? And I thought nothing more of it, right? And since then, I mean, in the world of Twitter, it's nothing. I've had 2,386 likes, sort of death threats, people saying how fucking stupid are you? You should go and boil your head. Just people going bonkers. But the fascinating thing is that like sort of half the respondents obviously get it was a sort of a lame attempt at humour. And it's quite amusing to see these people sort of piling on the people who just have no concept of context. It's extraordinary that there are people out there just simply take everything at face value. So what I've learned is that the irony and sarcasm don't work very well on Twitter, and people are super sensitive. But I picked up some nice new followers. I think one of whom is the clinical lead at a teaching hospital in the north that specialises in urology. So she'll be getting some DMs of my male tenor pads later on. No, I won't. Obviously, just in case you think I won't be sending that. But yeah, it's been fascinating. So my phone's been blowing up. So I feel a bit like Jake Paul now. This is how he must feel. All these people piling in on him. It's just extraordinary. But what it has taught me is that just people just take things so literally. And I think that's probably why we've got a Tory government, isn't it? People don't think, they just sort of just react, and it's bizarre, absolutely bizarre. And as I'm looking now, another like 90 new likes to this stupid comment I put 10 hours ago. So yeah, bonkers really. So now I'm going to double down and be even more hateful. I think it's emboldened me. But there you go. Nothing to do with racing, but fascinating.
Death threats for a bastard. Yes.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
There we go. This is what happens when you, try and be savage in your daily wares on Twitter. Yes.
People
okay.
Weird. People, but I can see, just on a serious point, that sometimes we look at Twitter and people sort of get who are in a perhaps a more fragile state, and you think, how on earth can you take this to heart? But I suppose if you are of a more kind of a delicate disposition, you've got mental health issues or whatever, I can now see how people can be freaked out by it. I don't give a fuck, but if you were fragile, you take quite a lot of this stuff to heart, and probably it would ruin your day. But actually, it's improved my day now, so I'm getting even more horrible. So well done, Twitter.
Well, speaking of which, I mean, Ben Keith, sponsor of Ground Derby, Star Sports, bookmaker. I've always enjoyed Ben's food blogs on Twitter.
Yes, very much so.
He had his breaking point, I think, today. He told someone to go fuck themselves and go fuck themselves again once they've done that.
Really?
So Yes. Old Ben had lost his cool today on someone attacking him over. I don't even know what it was about. I just saw Ben's tweet because it pops up in my timeline. But yeah, he looked like Ben had had enough.
Had enough of stupid people, and you look, there are a lot out there. I didn't realise how many dumb people out there are, but there really are. And I looked at it, I thought no one could possibly believe that I think that John Lennon had something to do with Brexit, right? You know, well, you obviously think that's the case. Well, no, I fucking don't. Everyone knows it's Paul McCartney, so there you go.
Yeah.
Never mind. Anyway.
Well, what a weekend. Everyone's up magic mushrooms, it seems. But anyway, coming to a racing standpoint, and we had some terrific action, I felt, yesterday. Some people think, well, after Ascot, what are you going to get? And yesterday, I think we saw some sensational performances from 4 horses. I've picked out 4 that I think put up sensational performances, and we'll go to Newcastle first of all. The 2, I think it was the sprint race where Sense of Duty, John, I think was very, very impressive. Certainly, she looks a filly that could probably take on the best of the boys on that performance. John, would you agree with that?
I think you'd be hard pressed not to give her at least 111 plus.
Yeah.
On that, you'd think there's every reason she can go on from it because she's done it easy. No question about that.
Yeah, I think obviously she had all the allowances, which that's what I was pointing out. With that thing winning the Cathedral, was it Benefit? And that had all the so obviously the 3-year-old fillies are probably well treated at this time of year against the elder sprinters. And
has he put in anything?
Just looking at her entries now, absolutely no entries. He's obviously not. You know, this probably wasn't foreseen from the shirt because if this had been working, obviously he's got Tiber Flow that ran in the Commonwealth Cup, so you might think that he's got some kind of a guideline.
He's left this one to his assistant, the vest, hasn't he?
I think so. The vest,
the wife beater.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think she's got the quality to take on the boys, at the top level. I don't think she's far off, John. I mean, Bielsa that ran 3rd in the race as well. It was mentioned, I think, on Bar Stewards, and like a good chance in the Wokingham, and it's probably fair to say that the 2nd and the 3rd would have bolted up in any respective handicap that are probably running. Rather than running in that. Bielsa showing that he was in good art, so disappointed they didn't take the chance at Ascot with that rail bias. So Bielsa backers could, I think, feel a little disappointed. Right, the next performance, also at Newcastle, was what was caused hysteria on Twitter, really, and various social media outlets and racing outlets. Some racing posts put a tweet up, I think, that wound everybody up, that said, "Is this the best performance they've ever seen from Trushan? Is this the best racing performance ever seen?" Which was rather bizarre. Matt Chapman's bouncing up and down the spot, saying this was just an unbelievable performance. I'd like to get your thoughts, John, on Trushan, what you think in context, how you saw it.
Well, I think a good rule of thumb for starters is if you find yourself agreeing with Matt Chapman, you're probably wrong.
Yes, that's fair play.
But that said, I mean, that was a terrific effort. But putting it in context, I do think these days, I think these top handicaps are generally contested by very, very exposed handicappers that are not necessarily forced to even hit their marks. They're so poorly handicapped in the main, because in order to get in these races, they've all had to plonk the bollocks on the table to let us have a look. They are generally handicapped right up to the best, if not beyond.
Yeah. A few old boats behind them, weren't there? I mean, it was on paper, it wasn't a good performance, but behind, there were a lot of slow horses. I thought
You'd be very, very hard pressed to put any of them up. You know, that I think. I think Roginski's probably £2 beyond what he can win off anyway, and I think he did everything to go right to win off at £2 though, Matt. You know, I think that's a good starting point for the race. I mean, I thought one of the biggest things about the race was the fact that she managed to win on it after the horse bossed her early on, and with 3 stone of lead in the saddle, she still managed to get the horse to finish its race off like it did. I thought that was excellent from her.
She's improved a lot, I think, actually, because I think last season I think one of the topics was that you know, one of her faults was, or areas of improvement was difficult to settle big horses that put. But from what I can see this year, she's definitely improved quite a lot. So I think she's, you know, right at the top of the tree now.
I tell you what I did notice about her as well. Just after she whipped the saddle off, she posed for a photo with the saddle in the crook of her left arm.
Yeah.
Now, after riding 2 miles, pushing like fuck on that thing, to be able to just hold thick end of 3 stone in one arm and not be grimacing, actually smiling, she must be stronger than King Kong.
Yeah. maybe her fitness, I mean, you know, she certainly improved, I think. She's an awful lot better and she was good, obviously, last year, but this year she looks the finished article. And what I like about her, she makes, you know, compared to like relatively few mistakes, you know, you're not thinking, oh, bollocks, she's going to go for a gap that isn't there.
She doesn't over finesse it, does she?
No, she doesn't. And that's 8 times out of 10, that's sort of what you want. Sometimes, you know, you'll get pilots that have an inspiring move and everything goes great. But I'd rather be on a pilot that sort of does the right thing 8 times out of 10 rather than too big genius, personally.
Yeah.
I think you're both missing the point. Have you seen her guns? Have you seen her guns? I mean, she's got serious guns. You know, the biceps. You know, I mean, you know, when seriously, I thought
you said about the buns. That's about
the guns. The guns, as in your guns. You know, the old gym guns, right? I mean, right? Listen, anyone. We can do it live on TV. Ollie Doyle versus Tom Doyle in an arm wrestle, right? Yeah. I will take anyone. I'll have evens. Ollie beats Tom in an arm wrestle.
Yeah.
Anyone.
Well,
that's sport.
Yeah, that's where she wasn't so good last year. You know, where she was finding horses that were really pulling, and she was finding it hard to settle. I don't see that much this year. So that sounds right, doesn't it? Improve her fitness, her strength. She's finding it easier to settle kind of wayward horses now.
Well, one to take out of the race anyway was Summer's Night of Sir Mark Brescott BT. Not many came from the back in that, and
did.
And you know, Summer's Night, I thought ran a blinder, and that's the one to take from the race going forward. Yeah, I think that if Sir Mark can get it out, you know, get a win into it, which I'm certain on that run he can. I mean, I got Summer's Night as a horse to follow this year. It nearly made my list in horses to follow. For whatever reason, I decided on others, but I genuinely felt this would be a better 4-year-old. I think there's a lot more to come. So Summer's Night, that wins next time for me, and you'd have been
very upset if you had put it on your list, wouldn't you? Not off, and then a ride like that yesterday.
Well, I actually bet it at Newmarket for that reason. I bet it strong on reappearance because I felt this horse would be like really one to get hold of this year, but obviously they just had a float up. But to be fair to the Prescott horses, they haven't been right. So
no.
Maybe, you know, because obviously we've not seen Sir Mark Prescott 3-year-olds. They're all so obviously they've been behind. Whatever they might have had, we don't know. We don't see many support. This is weird. We're entering July.
He does this from time to time, doesn't he? I don't know whether it's the perfectionist in him or just because he's a bit of an arsehole.
Yeah. Or both.
True.
Yeah. So anyway.
Prescott's done. He's finished. Honestly, he's gone. Now watching bagging winners now.
And then obviously the Sardinian over at Newmarket, he managed a perfect 1-from-1 on the very impressive 2-year-old filly Lazoo, which she looks to me like she is Group 1.
She's all right. I think she can do with thickening up a bit. But at the minute, that's probably a shape that she's most effective at. She'd maybe better with a winter under her belt. Sparkling turn of foot, I thought, in the conditions.
Yeah, to nail. I thought that had gone at Bowie's. I thought Jet for Strides. I thought Bowie's had nicked the race, had pinched it.
Well, I thought the sardine was in a tight tin. I thought it was quite nicely packed in and was going to have to extricate himself with a can opener, never mind the key on the tin. But it opened up for him, and once he got out, I always felt as though he was going to get there. But still, good turn of foot, good effort.
Good turn of foot, strong 2-year-old fillies race because of the time. Yep. The time was 1:12 and 2. Just to bring context into that, the time of Pergo was 1:24 and 4. So do your maths. Another 12.5 second furlong between 6 and 7 furlong, and you've got Pergo's winning time. So that for 2-year-olds is some going. It fits in well with the times slower than standard per furlong on the day. So this, I think, is a strong fillies race going forward. So maybe if you see something pop up in the Princess Margaret out of there, and it's 33s or 50s that's finished sort of 7th or 8th in this, maybe consider those as an each way play, because I think it's a strong 2-year-old fillies race.
Where's the winner?
Okay. That would be the natural thing. I also don't think she'd have any problem with 7. So I think there's options for them. But Lowther's a good target, John. I agree. Beckett might fancy something at Goodwood, maybe. He's done that before with some of his 2-year-olds, so he might just go there. But there's so many options because it will be 6 or 7 for Lazoo. She's got a turn of foot. She's not. She was a little bit keen early, but I don't envisage much settling problems over 7. So I think she'd be amenable to that by the end of the season if they wanted to do that. But an interesting filly anyway. I think she's really proved herself there as being very good. Okay, now we go on to the Irish Derby, which I'll be honest, didn't get the boat floating as some renewals I've seen in my lifetime, but nevertheless, it was a very impressive performance by the winner. Can't take that away from it. I like the horse physically, everything about it. It's a real powerful galloping horse, and it drew away for a nice 7-length win. So, John, thoughts on Westover and thoughts on the race?
As a type, it reminds me a bit of North Light. Very similar type, I would have thought. I had to knock the performance. I mean, he's won 7 lengths. You couldn't do any better than that. Obviously, Hornby had got bait on it, according to ITV Racing. Fucking idiot. I couldn't believe that tweet where they were justifying the jockey change. Saying, obviously, the right thing to do. I mean, fuck, mate. That's low, that. I mean, next time they want to interview Rob Hornby, he wants to be getting the shiv out and giving him it right in the rib cage when Chapman or somebody's trying to talk shit to him. I mean, that was an outrageous thing to tweet.
Yeah,
so,
it was.
7 lengths winner, we were just piss off.
Was it Chapman that tweeted that?
No, ITV Racing.
ITV Racing. I'm sure there was someone else as well. I can't even remember, but it pops up on my Twitter feed. It was like a proper racing chappie, and he said the decision to put Keane in the saddle vindicated. Yeah, like I mean, it's like any jockey could have won on that day. I genuinely believe that. I cannot believe that anyone wouldn't have won on that. So it's a very odd tweet.
I thought the tactics on Tuesday were mystifying.
Yeah.
And I thought Sergeant Wilson's decision to run in that was beyond fucking bonkers, as we said before the race. And I think sadly now, despite Nick Luck's protestations about Sergeant Wilson being a shrew, if you like, I think what we're going to have to say is the jury is very, very much out on whether this fella's got a blind fucking clue or not now. Because we've had a Sayuni running on wholly unsuitable grounds for the first 3 runs of its life, then missing what could have been a lucrative target through injury. We've had ridiculous tweets about the ground not mattering, and then we had a tweet yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Sergeant Wilson saying bullshit.
Yeah, you know, I mean, he called bullshit on us when we were saying that all this warfarin's fucking it up and you don't know what the ground's going to be. And he more or less said it doesn't fucking matter what the ground's going to be. Well, you know, wonderful tonight, Lionel. We're getting the charge list longer than the fucking Andrex bog roll, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm quite critical of him now because, I mean, after he ran wonderful tonight at York on rattling quick last year, and I find do you know, right? Have you noticed certain trainers get media lovings?
This fella, because he's French and so cultured, you know, nobody utters a word, do they? But I tell you what, he's making some fucking barn pot decisions. Yeah,
and I've seen you on Twitter, John, saying that could have fucked the horse really mentally as well.
Well, I mean, he's had a mile there where he's been off the bridle, running 5 steps to every other horse he's for. A situation like that, an inexperienced horse can seriously distress him. You know, he hasn't finished his race off. Spencer's had to virtually pull him up. I'd be very concerned about his future now after that.
Yeah. And an example of that would be something like, say, John Leaper last year.
Yeah, I mean, chances are this will go to a good one next. Because he reckons it was all right when he got it home. So, we'll crack on, go to a good one and put plenty of water on. Yeah, we'll see. Jury's out, big time.
Yeah, I agree with all that's said there. But Westover, so let's put a rating on Westover because I see this as similar to German Nashwan and Cacoethes, and in the shape of, I'm not saying they're the same types of horses. I'm just saying like a similar type of, you know, it's fairly close rivalry, and I feel Desert Crown is still better than Westover. That's my feeling after the Irish Derby. What do you feel, John?
I think Desert Crown's going to prove himself considerably better.
Yeah.
I give Westover 119 yesterday.
I did 119. Yeah.
Which was, and I'll just tell you what I give him for the Derby. I think it was an improved effort. I'm sure it was anyway. I gave him 2-6. It wasn't outstanding. I gave him 115 for Epsom.
115 for Epsom.
Had him improving, the £4.
Yep, I have Desert Crown 124, Westover 119. That's where I'm at. I think Westover's about £5 behind. I just think when you're dealing, people always say unlucky at Epsom, and there's still people now on Twitter saying Westover would have beaten Desert Crown with a clear at Epsom. Absolute bullshit. The reason he couldn't get through at Epsom because he didn't have the pace to get through it, and that will always bear. It's all right how he looks at the Curragh where he could just get loose and free and outweight and gallop clear. When you've got a horse that's sort of travelling as well as you, upsides as you, that's got the gears Desert Crown has displayed so far, that Westover hasn't got those kind of gears. It's a very powerful gallop.
The feeling that Desert Crown in that race would have just tracked him through and then pissed past him.
I think so. That's how I stand anyway. But it's like someone also said on social media, whatever happens now, if they do meet in a rematch, whatever you do fancy out of the pair, if you've got a strong opinion, you will get a good price, because obviously the market I think, or people seem more split on whether Westover or Desert Crown's the best middle distance 3-year-old colt, when I know it's Desert Crown is the best 3-year-old colt over middle distance. So, but you will still get a price because there are a lot of public that do think that Westover is better. So that's what makes markets. So I think we're in for. I hope they do think King. Is it possible Westover King George? It's not, is it? It's too close.
Be a bit of an ask, wouldn't it?
I don't. Yeah, don't think
that 3 weeks.
Yeah, don't think we'll do that. No, it's. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think they would. I think now they'll probably steer clear of the King George, let Desert Crown win that, and then maybe what's the next time they could meet, John? After that, it's the Arc, isn't it?
You're assuming that they're both going to stick to a mile and a half.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a gimme that Desert Crown will stick to a mile and a half.
No.
I think Desert Crown could possibly go Irish champion, maybe our champion. Because it might look a bit better on his say rate over out ones at 10.
Yeah.
I was thinking they've got Bay Bridge to go up in trip as well.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go on to our first topic then, right? So there's been a I saw a tweet from Lydia Hislop regarding someone had stated that, or that there was mutings that the Irish Derby might be, talked about dropping back to 10. Where has this come from? Where we've just suddenly stamped 12 furlong plus winners as jump size all of a sudden? Where that's not always been the case, has it?
Well, if Galileo had ended up saying of his Lindley game, would have had a funny shape to it, wouldn't he?
For sure.
It's idiots like this Sweetman in Racing Post, isn't it? Saying, I want to drop this back to 10 now because most of the fucking runners don't get 12. Well, whose fault's that? Can't believe the race. Race has always been 12. Everybody knows it's 12. If they're breeding horses to win Coventries, which seems to be the race everybody wants to win now, you don't give a fuck about the Derby. That's when the Coventry Stakes. I think it's this 2-year-old precocity thing. They want your 2-year-olds to prove themselves as hard runners. They want 4 or 5 runs in one. They want to win a group race at 6 and probably a Joehurst. And if you do, that's your big stallion syndication of the year. You can be out on your investment at the end of your 2-year-old season. Whereas if you're breeding something to win a Dante and then a Derby, you've got another year sweating, haven't you?
So it is like Richard John O'Brien says, racehorse trainer. He replied to Lydia and said that it costs a lot of money to get involved with a top class staying prospect. You've got to have the right sort of fundage to buy something that's capable. Then you've got to be patient, and like you say, it's another 2 years of waiting and seeing if you're good enough. And that's it. Is it easier just to breed a fast 2-year-old, sell it to King Kong for 1.2 million, and job done?
Well, if that's what you're in the game for, yes.
Yeah.
And there's less and less people in the game trying to win a Derby because there's a very small nucleus of people that can actually afford to win a Derby. Because, let's be fair, if you're going to try and win a Derby, realistically, you need a batch of pretty fucking good brood mares of numbers-wise probably 25 to 30 minimum. Because one dart at it's not going to do it for you, is it?
No.
So when you add in the attendant costs of assembling said band of 30 brood mares, keeping them, that rolls out an awful lot of owners. Your people that's winning the 2-year-old races at Ascot the other week, there wouldn't be very many of them in the bracket that could do that.
No. It's one of those. I mean, do you think like Galileo's sort of ruin the classics in a way, the staying classic, because in a way, if you didn't have anything by sort of Galileo or something that was in what I'm trying to get at is that as Coolmore sort of ruined the Derby for a few years.
No, it's a good bloodline. You know, he's sired mares. People can pick these mares up. You know, I mean, not necessarily cheaply, but you know, I mean, they are on the market. You know, I mean, you get Galileo descendants going through sales rings for years to come. It's no bad thing. I mean, it's a good bloodline. Couldn't ruin anything. You know, it'd only ruin anything if it was siring absolute raspberries. You couldn't train them. I mean, it's a good bloodline. You know, there's nothing wrong with getting into that line at all.
No.
So I don't think that in itself's a problem. I just think there's very few people can win derbies now because of the cost.
Yeah. Is the ways probably of incentivizing people to breed more like derby horses? You know, buying ways of breeders' prizes, you know, breeders, you know, bonuses.
For me, Lee, you can put all the incentives you like up. I mean, you're talking a ridiculous amount of investment to try and do it, and then you're still not forced to do it. You know, you can still assemble your 30 brood mares, send them to stallions at, I don't know, 25 grand a cover, you know, because you're going to have to go to a top stallion. And, you know, just think about what that's costing you before you get into anything. Any sort of incentive, you know, I mean, what sort of incentive are you going to offer? You know, a small breeder. Oh, if you win a derby, we'll give you £6 million. Oh, well, that's all right. Just about break even on the investment. You know what I mean? It's seriously expensive to breed and run and win a derby. You know, you need people with more money than Croesus, to be honest. And they don't need an incentive, you know?
No.
I mean, so are we looking at a future of the sport where you know, the derby and such, it could be in decline, the race, where it's just dominated by, you know, the big two, which they've got the biggest resources, which they've always had. I'm not saying they haven't, but where are the days where we got lots of owners? You know, like we'd have a really like tremendous derby. To be fair, this year we did. I remember Davis saying this year's derby was unusual because O'Brien didn't have lots of runners. No one had lots of runners in it, and it was like really sort of a nice derby to watch and be involved with. What's the chance of that continuing, John?
Slim. I don't think you're heading where they are going to be contested by an elite with the occasional headline maker that was entered as a foal and they couldn't be asked to take it out and they fancy having the tickets and that type of thing. But I don't think you'll be getting owners coming from nowhere. But I do think that's a bit of a myth anyway, because really there's not many little fellas get a kick at winning a derby, is there? Well, and by little fellas, I mean like you run of the mill sort of, you clip the logistics, you know, people like that. Midland Park, you know, they're not on the pitch, are they? You know. But they never have been, really. You know. I mean, you go back through history, you know, it's Worthingers from France coming over, the Aga Khan horses, Nelson Bunker Hunt, you know. But these people have always had barrel loads of money. You know, they're the ones that win it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll move forward. I watched a video of the Houses of the Oireachtas. This is the Horseracing Ireland, big sort of gangland meeting on where the funding goes and etc. And it's quite good to watch actually. I'd love something to happen like this for the BHA in our country. This is televised. You can see it. You can watch it recorded, and all the views. And it was tremendous viewing, to say the least. Suzanne Eade, who's the chairman of the Horse Racing Ireland, she was made to feel rather uncomfortable by a lot of questioning from various sectors of the industry. Obviously, in Ireland, this is where they have it different to the UK, where in Ireland it's classed as agriculture, which, you know, gets rid of all the nutters, you know, the banning nutters and all the idiots. Whereas we don't. It's a leisure industry. Whereas in Ireland, it's agriculture. So it's funded by the Irish Treasury. However, she looked rather uncomfortable with some certain questions regarding media rights. She was kind of, what's the word? A bit like, clueless. Yeah, Julie Harrington-esque. She couldn't say what the budget would be, say, for media rights. So all the questions she couldn't answer, basically. All in all, it was rather uncomfortable viewing if you kind of, for the future of the sport in Ireland. I don't think they're in a good place. Like us, I don't. Even though it's funded by the Irish government in terms of like the I think 70 million they give in grants to back to the horse racing industry. I don't think they know where they lie. There's a lot of doubts with breeders, small breeders that collect, breeding grants and stuff like that. She couldn't even guarantee that for them. And it's worth watching for anyone that's listening. If you've got a spare, it's 2 hours long, so you don't have to watch it all. You can skim bits. But there's one guy in it, and I forget his name, but he's got grey hair. He's quite a portly gentleman, and he reminds me of our very own Jonas Leng. His questioning was absolutely.
I haven't got a grey hair on my head.
No, I don't mean in looks. I mean as in what question? The type of questioning, the grilling.
I still look 35.
I know, we know this, but it was just the grilling. It was the grilling he gave Suzanne, and the other guy that was next to her. You could see at the end he was fucking fuming. He was ready. he couldn't cope with another question because he was getting absolutely mullered. And it's great viewing. Not necessarily if you're an Irish racing fan, because I think there's a lot of questions to be asked there, and it's worth a big watch. One system they've got there, right, for cattle over there is being currently discussed to be used in horses over there, and it's called the AIM system for cows. And basically, if a cow's at a bed and breakfast, you'll know that a cow has turned up at a bed and breakfast. It's tracked by GPS. Weatherby's have the passport system, and Weatherby's have the technology to implement this over here. Is that a good idea, chaps, to implement? So, like Stuart Williams, friend of the show, talked about horses moving yards and how it's like, and one horse is trained by somebody, but it's really been on Joseph O'Brien's gallops, Jimmy Fox. Right? If we had that system, that's over. That's finished. If all these horses are tagged GPS, then the GPS data goes into a central system. You know where that horse has been, what vets it's been to, where this, that, and that. So if any administrative drugs has appeared in the system, right, you'll know when it's been implemented and where it's been to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I think if a horse turned up at a bed and breakfast, that'd be fairly easy to pick out, wouldn't it? You wouldn't need GPS. I don't know what your home life's like, but I think I might notice it over the cornflakes. But I think that's right, because if you look at allegedly a lot of these sorts of high profile coups that have taken place over the last 2 or 3 years, rumor has it that, as you've just said, those horses have been prepared in very professional yards, and then miraculously sort of 3 or 4 days before the plot has entered the care of Mrs. No Winners, and lo and behold, crash bang bollock. And there are loads of people that were doing that. I mean, that's quite a tried and trusted method. But so GPS would at least identify where those horses were, and it'd be really difficult to kind of bamboozle the system, because that's the risk, isn't it? That's where you get these trainers that haven't trained to win, and all of a sudden they're off the boards. That they're being trained, as you say, by a professional trainer, got ready for the coup, and then moved into the care of somebody who wouldn't know the back end from the front.
And that's it, and it does the BHA's job for them, because basically, if there's any untoward, they can't get away with it. These horses are tagged, and that's it. They're microchipped. They're already microchipped with the passports and stuff, but there's nothing wrong with giving them a GPS tag to then monitor the movements. There's nothing wrong with that. It's I think it's for the good of the sport and cheating on that aspect. John, what do you think to that?
Well, I think GPS is a tremendous idea, really, in the way forward. Whether they have the will to implement it, and that's another matter. Probably not, given the track record of these people. Too much like hard work, isn't it?
What will have these people got, John, in your opinion?
Very little. Very little. The biggest focus is on the pension, the car, and the salary.
What did you think? Just switching subjects again. What do you think to the ground at Newmarket on Saturday? Because I know we've been quite critical on the show. You know, knocking the tops off and stuff. Times were relatively slow again on the Saturday. Nothing really getting close to standard. Again, is this? Why is this continuing? I don't quite understand.
Nobody's bothered about the actual racing on the July course now. Whether it's just it's a preamble before a concert, and these Friday nights he's slocking plenty of water on. That means he's going to get good fails. He doesn't get small fails because nobody knows what the fuck they're going to be racing on. And nobody dares have a bet until they watch a couple of races. Then you know why, because they're all over the shop. It's just a crock of shit. I mean, I've more or less written the place off as regards having a bet.
Yeah, it's fair comment. I mean, the racing line, I think is fair comment. It is. It's plenty of room on the track, but it's like you said, John. Literally coming to the two pole, they could be 20. There might be 6 runners, but they could be 20 meters apart. It's quite bizarre to watch. Like I said, there's no racing line.
It's like that old army directive, isn't it? Right, come on, lads, spread out in a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've touched on GPS for cows. We're doing quite well this year. We're saying that Suzanne Eads, the Julie Arrington of horse racing Ireland. We've gone through the best horses of the weekend. Another idea that was sent to me as a question was to do with horse weights. Would either of you two be in favour of seeing horse weights in a race card? Is it useful?
They do it for greyhounds, don't they? I suppose, and I think any information for the punter is good information. It depends what you do with it. That's always the trick. You can give people as much information as you want, but it's how you interpret that. But greyhound cards, as we know, Lee, you own dogs. It's helpful, isn't it? I mean, you can see, whether certainly bitches coming out of season if they put on weight or taken off weight. So logistically, it ought to be possible. I would have thought to provide that information, but it's how punters use it, I suppose.
But again, to appear in the race cards, it would have to be done, I presume, at home in the train nest out, unless it was last weight recorded on the racetrack.
Could be, yeah.
That's the other way. But I mean, how would it go on, John, with a 2-year-old with a hard on? That'd be heavy, wouldn't it? be some big sausage there, I mean, could be a few kilos.
You could put 7 or 8 pound on, couldn't it? Then you get sent to Uncle Rural Gardener. No, I mean, I agree with Chris. You can't have too much information. What you do with it is up to you. I'd like to think it wouldn't particularly bother me. I'd tend to rely on my physical notes anyway, whether I think a horse is going forward, making progress, doing well physically, rather than what I read written down as regards its weight. I mean, by all means, given the information, it's not something I'd be gagging for, I don't think.
Okay, Banks has been on, and he says he wants us to discuss affordability.
Right.
So what we're saying about the current state of affordability? Well, I'll tell a story. I've not had the best of runs. I deposited some money into Betfair before Ascot, and I got the old affordability call. But because I was a key account on Betfair, I had a conversation this time rather than some Bulgarians or Romanians, saying it's very nice. So I found it a more pleasant. Sorry?
Is that what they say? It's very nice.
That's Borat, isn't it? Very nice.
They say it's very nice, and then they close your account.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, it's very nice. So yeah, but this one was particularly kind, sort of knowledgeable, and it was a good conversation. And they left me alone. That's the thing. They saw if I was they asked if I was all right. I said I've never been all right.
Okay, now we're asking for trouble, asking you, you're all right, aren't you?
No. So that was good banner. And
You have a big gambling problem.
Well, she was Irish. It was Sandra.
Okay.
I'm going to mention her because she was really good. And I think that's what the game needs. We don't need like a checklist of 10 stupid questions and then your account gets suspended. We need a human voice on the other end that basically will listen. And for a fact, if someone's doing the bollocks on Jackpot Big Bar 7 Blitz, or whether they're doing the bollocks, in the Cork and Horrible. I mean, it's you can tell the people that need help and advice and an arm round them sometimes, and you can tell the people that just want to be left alone. That's why I don't really understand these affordability checks, which will solve nothing. You're relying on a Tory government to bring in that don't know fuck all about betting, and this is what winds me up. IG have sponsored the England Test series with New Zealand, right? It's betting. He's betting on shares and markets. It's been classist. If you bring in restrictions to betting, then you bring restrictions to the stock market because it's the same thing. It's betting. Your investment can go up as well as down. It's said there in the small print. It's the same thing.
But it's bizarre, isn't it? The Tories were always about small government. We'll leave individuals to get on with their lives and spend their money, and it's a very kind of a libertarian philosophy. And yet, it's the Tory government that sort of seems to be behind this increased regulation. It's bizarre. It's completely counter to what most people think the conservative philosophy is, to let people get on and fuck their own lives up how they want to do it. That's it's odd, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I don't tend to have a lot of time for conservative policy.
Really?
No.
I've never known that.
No, but I would say that these are about as far removed from being conservative as you can get. I mean,
what are they, John? I mean, I know
that's
a swear word. What are they if they're not conservatives? Because I can't work this
we're
out.
in the hands of mendacious, self-serving lunatics.
Right.
Yeah, that's spot on. Literally people that are feathering their own nest, and it's
they're raping the country. As simple as that. I mean, they're trying to turn workers against workers. Rail tracks making hundreds of millions of profit, but they're shitting themselves whether the workers are actually going to get a pay rise or not. And that's Rail Track have made that money after the government has pumped hundreds of millions into Rail Track. And that's out the public purse getting diverted to private funds. It's criminal in my eyes.
Kleptocracy is what it is, and whatever people think of the Tories, I'm no fan, but this Tory regime has no, as John says, no kind of overarching political philosophy. It's every person for themselves. It's not saying we think this and all our policies follow this strategy, and you like us, you vote for us, you don't, you vote us out. This is like, it's a kleptocracy, isn't it? I don't know, weird.
Well, I mean, to add to this, I mean, I've even lost a sportsman's bet with Coo, really, Coo's Racing Club. We had this heated debate a long time ago. And I said if Labour got in power, they would come down on racing because obviously we saw the fox hunting ban and this, that. I said they'd come for racing. They would come for it. They'd get hold of it and they'd want to strangle it and destroy it. And I thought under a Labour government that would happen. But no, under a Conservative government, this is actually happening for real. And it's worrying times for everybody because I've even contemplated, my next moves, which is not horse racing. It's going into something different, either a fish and chip shop.
You'd eat all the profits, Lee. That's not.
I know, I'd be no good for that.
We fuck all left. on a Friday.
I think I'm going to IG because you can deposit fortunes. They don't ask you any questions, and it's an easier game. Yeah. I mean, trading shares. If anyone's done it before, I'm not saying it's a license to print, but compared to what I do for a living, which is trying to predict horses across the field and know they're not going to stop them and everything else. I'll tell you now, it's a lot easier than horse racing. It's just not difficult. It just requires a bit of your time, bit of common sense, and you'll do all right. You don't need fund managers. Just do it yourself. And that's the future. No restriction. That's the bizarre thing. Come this white paper review when it's released, they might say to me, right, you can have £1,000 a month and that's your limit. Well, I'd just say fuck you, and I'd quit. And we're at that level now. It's ridiculous. What on earth are we telling people to do? And it's going to destroy horse racing. Despite Mark Johnston saying he needs another funding model, like John says, Mark Johnston will be selling ice creams, to try and fund his prize.
Salad as well.
Yeah, be good ice creams there. So yeah,
only if I'm selling my bistro.
Your chip shop, Lee, could be called Always Frying. How about that? In partnership with Mark Johnson. There you go.
Always Frying. Yeah, I might ring the kilt up with that one. I'll say
open one in Midland. Always Frying. It'd be
lovely. Yeah.
Oh God, he'd be fuming, wouldn't he?
He would.
Yeah, he would.
Discount for Kingsley House staff, 50% off. They're all pulling out heavy on the gallops.
Yeah.
Always Frying. Business idea there.
Yeah.
What a name that is from Chris. Okay. Any Jimmy Lindley for our people this week?
Not from me, no.
Right. Can I be boring then? And I'm gonna give 3 next time out winners. They're not really like Jimmy Lindley's, as in, oh my God, this is for a mark, but you just have the lot on them next time, I think. Yosemite Valley of the Fetus ran on Friday at the Curragh. This is a brother to Pisbadil. Flew home in 4th, absolute cast iron winner, but I'm telling you nothing. They're just obvious ones. The last one isn't. The last one's a bit more or less obvious. But Sandy Creek was the next one. That ran in the next maiden at the Curragh on Friday night. Over 7 furlongs, second to Never Ending Story. Physically, I love this filly. I think she's a really good filly to look at. Flying second. She's an half sister to Stone Age. Again, this is proper shit, isn't it? I mean, this is not a show, is it? I'm giving half sisters to Stone Age and full brothers to Pisbadil that everybody can see. This is pathetic. But the last one, at least the next time out winners, the last one, I think it's just slightly less obvious. It ran at Salisbury, and this will please John. It was the Kills. Loyal Touch ran at Salisbury. Real fine big colt this is. And they bet it into just above 2-1. Finished 3rd. So you say, well, why is it that not obvious? Because when you look at the performance, it doesn't look anything amazing. But he was pretty clueless. He was, and I thought Franny gave it a good ride, good educational ride, really. It was finishing all over him, but you could see he was just. I'm saying the 2 I've just previous mentioned will probably be stakes class. I think this will just be below stakes class, but I think this will improve a stone from that debut, a big stone, because it just looked to me there were just so much more. It was absolutely and look at the family. The family's really good. It's a half brother to Sovereign, Dawn Rising.
Do you think it could be one of them that he takes to the July course? Maybe even the July meeting, and leads all the way, and has people like James Willoughby cracking one off over the performance and saying it's a second coming. And then it gets kicked in the superlative after that. Do you think that's the plan?
Do you know what? I don't know with these, because I seriously think this is going to be one of their. I'd bet one of their better. Real good 2-year-olds, because if you're running that well, like when you're a bit sort of half clueless. I've seen them from debut to second run. I think this is going to run 90+ second start.
Yeah, so we can get a bet on this if he takes it to July, mate, and then the timing's about right. He'll make all against a load of Gosden, Stout, whatever types that's been
first time outers,
ridden properly. And then we can lay the shit out of it when it runs in the superlative.
John, you make some good points. It could be a July maiden, or it could be Goodwood, something like that. But this is a useful tool. He's going to be maybe just short of sort of like stakes class, but I can't really predict that at the moment. But he looks good, and he's from a good family. And the mother,
how many
mother
runs this year, Lee?
8.
At least.
He's not missing any dances then.
No, I mean, the mother was devoted to you. Obviously, she was good. She was Lister class. She's obviously been a very good mare because obviously what she's produced. So, and they've gone to No Nay Never, obviously, because Galileo probably spunk and ran out before he kippered it. So they went to No Nay Never with this one, and I think it's probably well bought by Jabba Abdullah for 100 bags. So there we go. That's it. We've got it covered. So three obvious Jimmy Lindleys. That's the kind of stuff you read in racing shite, isn't it? Shrewds.
Sunday sermon, the weekender edition.
It is. It's disappointing. But I felt we need winners.
Fuck me,
yeah. We just want winners. Winners back winners. Nick Morden said that.
Right.
So there we go. That's it for this week's Sunday Sermon. We're back as normal on Friday for the Eclipse edition. Me, Nick Davis, is back from fighting people in Magaluf. Quentin Franks and, of course, John Lang on Friday. So look forward to that. That's all from us. Banzai.
Right, the show's over, boys. Thank you very much.